All right, Brad. Let's get into it. The Indiana Hoosiers play Kennesaw State this weekend. It is a noon kick, so it's bright and early for the folks that maybe were dying in the sun and using that as an excuse to leave at halftime. There is no excuse for that today or Saturday. I guess you can find an excuse anywhere. But what do you got for us, Brad? Kennesaw State.
11 a.m. over there.
What do you got for us?
All right, yeah, it's a game preview. We're taking on the Kennesaw State Owls from guess where? Kennesaw, Georgia. You guessed it. Boom. Yeah, we're playing them. It's going to be at Memorial Stadium. It's going to be on September 6th on FS1. So back-to-back national spots for the Hoosiers. Don't look now. They're saying it's a week schedule, but yet we're on national television every weekend. Someone tell me Kennesaw State's an FS1 quality program. So, what am I supposed to say about this difficult schedule that we have? And yeah, that's going to go down. I didn't update the lines. I didn't do that.
Indiana's favored by 35.5, I think, or 36.5, one of those two.
Hold on. I'll get you an actual line. So it's going to be a 35.5 point spread with a 52.5 total. Yeah, Kennesaw State. It's their first ever meeting against Kennesaw State. I don't even have to check that. I know for a fact because Kennesaw State started football in 2015, which is when I started. Huh. So I would have known if we played Kennesaw State at some point in that span. They started back in their pick to finish last in Conference USA. So very different look than a Sun Belt contender to now a Conference USA, weaker conference, not really expected to do all that great. They did. And there's a reason for that. All right. They're coming in with a first-year head coach. His name is Jerry Mack, and they're replacing Brian Bohannon. So I alluded last week that Old Dominion actually gave their coach that brought them up to the ranks a few years to figure things out. One thing I don't like what Kennesaw State did is they had Brian Bohannon, who brought them to 4 playoffs in 5 years, 3 conference titles in that span as well. 2 years later, was able to make the jump up to the FBS level. Didn't have too great of success those last 2 years at the FCS level, but they were already planning on moving up. And yeah, it just didn't go very well, like 2-10. And to kind of rip the reins from him mid-year kind of rubs me the wrong way. At least give him the year is kind of how I go about a guy like that. There's got to be respect in this game, right? Brought Kennesaw State to the FBS. Kennesaw State is now competing for CFP playoffs now. Like that is what he is able to accomplish, and they're now just throwing him to the curb. Come in, bring in Jerry Mack, no pressure, but he's coming in to fill some big shoes. Great opening weekend for the guy, by the way. RIP Brian Bohannon. Here comes Jerry Mack. They almost knock an ACC school on the road week 1. They lose that one 10-9 against Wake Forest last week. Obviously, people don't think Wake Forest is going to be very good, but it's still an ACC opponent for a team that is projected to be one of the worst teams in college football at this FBS level. One of the bottom 126 to 136 teams in that range, and they were able to find them, which makes me see maybe they're a top 100 team. Maybe they're a little better than what people are expecting.
Well, I'll say this because Signetti had a lot of really nice things to say about their team from the film he watched. He was impressed with the way they tackled. He said they were very well coached, and he came away impressed with their film.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest shout-outs that we gotta give is their starting quarterback, Dexter Williams.
Shout out to Dex.
If you were in college during my time in Indiana, Dexter Williams is folklore.
The greatest what if.
He's folklore over there. He really is. And he was really hyped coming out. This, dual threat, quarterback out of Georgia. He's coming into Indiana. And yeah, I got some good Dexter. Should I share my Dexter Williams? We're sharing our Dexter Williams stories.
You've shared it before.
Oh, I probably have. But yeah, I remember Dexter. When I first heard of Dexter Williams, I heard that he didn't know the playbook his freshman year in Indiana under Tom Allen. And that's why we had to play Jack Tuttle with a broken collarbone in the Outback Bowl and throw 18 bubble screens. That's what I remember Dexter Williams for. He later went on to upset Michigan State in one of our 9 wins in those last 3 years up until we got Signetti. And yeah, which was pretty. I think he went. I'm gonna look up that box score. I should have prepared better.
Yeah, Brad was like, "Yeah, I remember when he beat Michigan State," and I was like, "He beat Michigan State? I don't even remember that far back. It's all a fog before 2024."
It really is.
I remember Tom Allen handing out tickets at the Union in 2019, and then I remember being at that Outback Bowl game where they threw 18 bubble screens, and that's about it.
Insane. So, yeah, back in double OT win, 39-31 final. Dexter Williams came in relief, and 86 rushing yards, 31 passing yards. Actually, he didn't come in relief. He started the game, went 2 for 7, 31 yards passing. And we put up 39 points in that.
Was that the game where Omar Cooper got flipped upside down and landed on his head?
That was against Michigan, I'm pretty sure.
Mm.
But yeah, Dexter Williams, absolute folklore. He's making a reunion to Bloomington. I'm sure he's going to have a lot of motivation going into this game. Wouldn't be surprised to see him raising a little hell. Another dual threat quarterback we have to deal with, which seems to be a problem between Jack Lausch and Colton Joseph for whatever reason. So we'll see how that goes. With Dexter is probably going to be the best runner out of all 3. And yeah, it could pose some interesting challenges. However, like I said last week, I'm expecting an ass whooping. I'm expecting the boys to bounce back, expecting it to look a lot like, did we play Indiana State last year, week 2?
It was Western Illinois.
Western Illinois, right. Yeah, 77-3. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Most points in program history.
UCLA, then we got the Charlotte game after UCLA.
Yep.
Right. So I expect it to look a lot like that Charlotte game, if not a lot worse. Maybe even close to that Western Illinois result last year. That's what I'm expecting. I'm expecting to kind of the team just continue their trajectory in terms of how they go throughout their business, how they go throughout the year. I think they're acclimated to game speed now, so they're going to be up and ready to go and fire off the ball really fast right off the bat, as opposed to taking maybe a couple possessions like it did last week, a couple days ago. So, yeah, what are your keys to the game?
Oh, it's a nice little transition. Yeah, I thought. Well, you were teasing a famous alumni that I was going to be stunned when.
Oh my god! So I totally went over that. Ryan Seacrest.
What?
Yeah, Kennesaw State. Who would have thought?
Definitely would not have guessed that.
Yeah, insane. I was blown away when I saw that.
Where's his NIL dono?
I don't know. He's got to figure it out. Maybe he doesn't care about ball. That's Seacrest.
Big singing guy, Seacrest.